I just wanted to start this with a prayer. Can we all bow our heads? Dear Lord and Father, thank you that your promise to us that where two or more or three of us are gathered, you are there in the midst. Lord, we welcome you amongst us today and celebrate the gift of life that you have lavished upon each of us. We ask that you would open our ears so that we may hear your voice. Open our minds that we may receive your eternal wisdom. Open our spirits so that we may know your leading and guidance. And open our hearts so that we may receive your wonderful love. We ask all this in the glorious name of Jesus. Amen. So, if you all have your packets, can you take a look at the agenda? Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this morning? If no, can somebody move to accept the agenda for this morning? Okay, Mary moves, and second is Carl. And also, the minutes for the October meeting are on the second page. Take a look and see if there are any corrections to that. No additions or corrections to the minutes from the October meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes from the October meeting? Okay. Bonnie moves, Carl seconds. All right, so for our first order of business, I am going to defer a lot of this meeting to Mark Robinson, and we'll have him come up today.
Thank you. Just to start with, we've got two things in properties we have to deal with. One has to do with the audiovisual system we have, the camera system with the TVs. When we approved that, the purchase of the camera and TV system, it was understood that we would collect donations, and then what was left over would then be pulled from our Living Memorial Fund. Of course, we did not know how much we were going to get in donations. So we have a figure now, and a figure I think is $5,635, and I think that may have changed slightly, but it's within a couple of dollars of that. And the purchase of the system was $14,931.38. So what we need is actually go through the mechanics of making a motion and voting on transferring the $9,296.38 from Living Memorial to the church fund. So once we do that, then we'll get into talking about chairlift, which is another topic we need to discuss. But first we have to get this mechanics thing done. Yes, now any questions or comments before I ask for a vote? Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. For a show of hands, we need to know how many, I need a motion here to approve the transfer of the money from the Living Memorial Fund to the church. Okay, Carl's made the motion, and Pat has made a second. Okay.
I think they did paper ballots.
Oh, we need paper ballots on that? Okay.
Oh, no, that's for the other one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's for the other one.
What's the pink for?
The pink is for this motion.
Okay. So on the pink slip, what we need you to do is just put yes to approve the transfer of the money from Living Memorial to the other, or no if you disapprove, although money's been spent, so I don't think there's much more we can do about that. I'll wait a minute while we go ahead and collect the ballots, and then we'll go from there. Has everyone got a ballot? Okay. All you got to do is just simply say yes, basically, and which means that you're approving the transfer of the money from the Living Memorial to the church fund, general fund, so we can pay for the camera and the TV system. I'm sorry? Oh, you just voted for me too? Okay, good. Thought I was supposed to stay impartial, but okay. Although I was kind of partial to the system, I have to admit. Okay, is members here collected ballots for me? We got them all. Has everyone turned in their ballot? Raise your hand if you still need to turn it in. Yeah. So, okay, at the back table counting the votes now, so we'll get the total on that. Then we can move on to the chairlift issue, which is another subject. But I'll wait a couple minutes till I get the tally, then we'll go ahead. They're counting quickly, I'm sure. They'll get it done in a minute.
We can go ahead.
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and just start it on the next subject, just in general, and then we'll talk about more of the details. It was brought to our attention a few months ago, maybe even 6 months ago or more, that we have a fund for an elevator for this church. Now, the money designated for the elevator obviously cannot be used for our regular our transactions. It cannot be used for church business. It can only be used for an elevator or something that meets the spirit of an elevator. Okay. Do we have a count?
Unanimous, yes.
It's unanimous, yes. Can everyone hear me? Okay, good. All right. Now that we've got that solved. Okay. What happened here, and you can hear some, is that when the thing was brought to our attention that we had a elevator fund, we thought, well, first thing to do is find out if the fund will cover an elevator. Well, we discovered that the $13,000 plus that we had in the elevator fund wouldn't even come close. The price for one elevator, for a single elevator for a wheelchair, not a full-size industrial-size elevator, but just one for a wheelchair and a person pushing it, was $28,000 plus the construction, which is probably going to bring it to $60,000 to $80,000, or maybe even more, for an elevator. Off the chart. There's no way that the elevator fund we have will cover an elevator. So then we decided, well, let's take a look at the second best option, which would be a wheelchair. And I've got some slides I made up discussing the pros and the cons.
A chairlift.
For a chairlift. Thank you. The couple of things here that might help, and the pros are that we came up with was, one, it might help people with this difficulty using stairs. The question we need to think about here is, how many here would use a chairlift if we had one installed? Does anyone? Okay, maybe one person? Okay. Yes. And I have questions, please.
The stair lift and then transfer again at the bottom of the stairs, or would it hold a wheelchair? How would it work?
Well, that's part of the problem. If someone is wheelchair bound and wants to go to the lower level, or vice versa, they would have to abandon their wheelchair, ride the thing down, which is actually pretty slow. It doesn't go real fast. And someone would literally have to carry their wheelchair all the way down the stairs for them at the other end. Or a
we'd have
walker.
another wheelchair at the bottom. That would be an option, but
Yeah.
it would not hold the wheelchair. This is a chairlift like people have in their houses, so it would not carry a wheelchair.
Right. Right, and the same thing for a walker, the same problem exists. So those are a couple of things we need to think about. Okay, wheelchair, the walker, obviously that's one of the issues. The other problem here, another con that I have, is that it will reduce our Living Memorial Fund. Right now we've got, I think, 18,000 and plus
$329.84.
Thank you. And if we reduce that, if we go ahead and spend this money on an elevator lift, it's going to be, on a wheelchair, it's going to be considerably less. Right now, we have, we got a quote for the chairlift of, let's see, $19,934. Now, right now, our Living Memorial Fund, we have roughly $18,329. That's in the Living Memorial Fund. That's after we transfer the money, which we just did, okay? If we reduce that, if we go ahead and spend the elevator or buy the chairlift, not only do we have to consume the entire elevator lift funding, but we would also have to kick in more money, another $5,254 to cover the balance, the difference. Yes, questions? Right, okay, and that's a good point. The licensing, yes, Carl? Right. Yeah. Yeah, I have to apologize for that. This thing had to, by bylaws, we had to get this congregational business meeting thing out like about 30 days in advance, I think. And Jody had a meeting with our bookkeeping consultants here this week, and we got some revised numbers. They changed it a few dollars. Not a lot, but a little bit. But so there is some variations between what we have and what you may see on the screen. Yes, Jody.
I was just going to say, I don't know if the next slide is the total or not, but if after we would pay, that's not it, would be an amount left in the Living Memorial after the chairlift would be, yes, $13,412. So if we do pay the TV and the camera, and then we decide to do the chairlift and take money out of there now, which is what was in currently this week. Mm-hmm. That's what we would have left in the Living Memorial Fund after we would do those two things.
The $13,412, okay.
Okay, you still haven't spoken to the other costs.
Now, as far as other costs, I called and spoke to the Pennsylvania State Bureau that covers inspections. And Pennsylvania actually has a department that covers elevator inspections and elevator installations. And it turns out the cost for the elevator inspection is like $104 every year, and the initial cost is built into the contract. In other words, that $19,000 figure would cover and include, or should include, the installation, the review of the plans, and the cost and the approval for the elevator. Now, also one thing to keep in mind is that once every 5 years, you have to do a load test for the elevator, or the chairlift in this case. And that's about $445, but that's an additional cost that goes on top of this, and it's not a lot, but it's existing cost, and you should be aware of it. Okay. The other thing came to mind was, what was the donor's intent? We know that people have been donating to this fund for years. Over 20 years, thank you. So we don't know what the intent of the people that originally made the donation. Maybe they just wanted it for an elevator. We don't know. We know that the donors that are providing it now, and they were going to remain anonymous, and that's fine, said that they would be willing to live with a chairlift instead of an elevator if that's all they could get. But the thing we have to decide is are we really meeting the donor's intent? So that's something to think about. Maybe if it's not, then we're back to just a straight elevator again, which is a lot more expensive than a chairlift. Yes, Jim.
As far as what they have in mind, the elevator lift came into being when I was on the board, or employed by the church. And it was just meant to be an open thing to put in money as far as we can, keep on building that money till we could pay for the elevator. As far as, so I think that the instruction of the chairlift is something that is valid to use. Also, we'd have to take an effect, and probably we would, obviously I'm one of the ones that would be, I have to go out into the snow and to use the basement. I would probably, given that if we had the chairlift, I would purchase another scooter and then just leave it at the bottom of the steps.
Okay. Well, that's quite an expense, and if you would be willing to do that, that would be fine.
Well, I'm on my fifth or sixth.
Okay.
But I would not do it with a new one. I would just buy an old, just something that just a little bit to get me around downstairs.
Okay. Another thing we need to think about is chairlifts are not fast. They're slow. And they're also wide. The width from the staircase into the aisle is 16 inches. That's with it folded up. Folded down, with the seat folded down, it's even more. So it'd be very difficult for people to get around that chairlift, which means the rest of the congregation, if that chairlift's in use, would have to go around the building, out the front door and inside. Or they have to wait for the chairlift to get to the bottom and then go. So that's something to think about. It's a minor inconvenience, but it is a factor. The risk to others that's the other problem, is that if someone does try to use the staircase while the elevator or the chairlift is in motion, there's a chance they might get hit by it. So that's something we have to consider as well. And obviously a chairlift, unlike an elevator, doesn't support scooters and wheelchairs. We know that, so that's a problem. And I understand what Jim is saying. Yes.
If we get a chairlift, doesn't it go by the weight? I mean, if we have some thin people, and if we have some people come that are heavy, how's that going to take care of us?
Well, I think the wheelchairs are designed for greater than average weight. I mean, you wouldn't design something for the average weight because then people that are heavier than average wouldn't be able to use it. Well, I think the chairlift would be able to support the weight. I don't think we have any that's I don't think there's anyone that can use the steps would need to use the chairlift that I'm aware of. But that's a possibility. It could be a problem. Yes.
Let me just try and understand. We actually have to have 3 different bends, right? And you can't just get up on the top and just, can it just turn? And then like that whole corner is left off? How
Yeah,
does it
the
work?
chairlift actually would be attached to the inside rail. And you would have to literally make both turns. There's actually 2 landings on that staircase. You probably don't look at it every day, but the 2 landings mean that he's going to turn twice to get down there. Now the chairlift itself, when it's in the park position, would probably be at the top. It actually will rotate 90 degrees and actually get out of the staircase so it wouldn't interfere with people when it's not in use. There should not be a problem there. But yes, that is a factor. Other questions? Please, let's bring them up. Okay. Okay, yes, Carl.
Could you go back to the very beginning? I didn't hear how much would the elevator cost if you put the construction and everything all together.
Okay, we have a figure. 20.
No, plus construction.
Yeah. The cost just for the elevator, the chairlift elevator, the chair elevator that is 20, I think it's $28,000, slightly above that. The problem is that only covers the cost of the machinery. It does not cover the construction cost.
Right.
Keep in mind what's going to happen is that's kind of an unknown. If we're going to put it, where are we going to put it? Are we going to take the pastor's office and use that floor to go down? And I don't know if Pastor Brandon would be in approve of that or not, but that's something he could consider. The other option would be put through the Sunday school room. And you have to get an engineering to look at that and make sure that the building, that row floor is not going to collapse when they start cutting into those beams. So there's a cost that we really don't know. We figure it would be probably at least twice the cost of the machine, and it could be more. It could be $100,000. We really just don't know.
Yeah, Mark, I just wanted to add a thought. I am thankful that some folks have mentioned this fund and brought this to the leadership. The elevator fund was established obviously well before my ministry, so there's a whole lot of cons that we're talking about here, but we do want to make as much as possible an effort to be accessible as a congregation, but we're just kind of trying to be as honest with you as we can about kind of the realities at play.
Yes, Jody. I'm sorry.
I wasn't.
Here comes Mike.
I've been in several meetings and maybe I just didn't listen clearly, but I thought the cost of just the elevator was $90,000. But you're saying we can get an elevator without all the construction parts of it and the engineering and the labor and all that. The elevator itself would only be $28,000?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Okay, that, in my mind, I don't know. I realize we can't count on anybody to do it unless they volunteer, but we have a lot of talented people in this congregation and possibly some other companies in the area who may give donations, I don't know, as far as construction stuff. I mean, it's just a thought, but I didn't realize it was closer than that, than $90,000.
Right. Yes, Jim?
Just another thought. I have the Alicia Band. I rehearse at the Alicia Band in the basement of the church twice a month, during which I cannot go down to open the room for them. So I have to let one of the people that are unknown to us up here at this thing, and they go down and unlock the outside door to let me in, and then I can take it from them. So in terms of security or anything else that you look at, that's getting our, that door then to be opened by a stranger.
Could we just have a show of hands of people who think they or someone in their immediate family would benefit from a chairlift?
Let's see a show of hands. Well, 1, 2,
I see 3.
3. Okay. All right.
I mean, that was part of what we wanted to bring it to the congregational business meeting for, to sort of discuss and see how many people felt that they would benefit from it, or someone in their family members who may not be here today, to try to get an idea of, how useful it would be too. I mean, the elevator fund, part of the problem is in 20 years we've collected $14,000. If we're heading, even if people donated their labor, I can't imagine we'd get through it for less than $50,000 for the elevators. To be really optimistic, if people were donating a lot of stuff. If in 20 years we got 14,000, I'm not sure when we're going to come up with with the other remaining amount of money.
Yeah. Yes. Shirley.
Another thought, I'm, trying to weigh all the pros and cons, but yeah, you ask for people to raise their hands if they would benefit from it, but we have to think beyond our walls. Like when my dad passed away, one of my cousins didn't come to the funeral because she has mobility issues and she wouldn't be able to get downstairs after the service, so she chose not to come. So we do have more than people just in our congregation that might benefit from the elevator or the chairlift. Just adding another thought.
Right. Okay. Yes, Carl?
My only comment about the raising of funds would be, we've never asked anybody. I mean, there's never in my 20 years been somebody that stood up and said, hey, would you give to the elevator fund?
So
Last year that I know of. Is that incorrect?
no, I'm not disagreeing with you. And I actually did not, there might have been a communication issue. I did not think this meeting was to decide yes or no, we're going to put in a chair elevator. I thought that this meeting was more for us to discuss the pros and cons and see if it would be worthwhile pursuing an interest, perhaps considering raising money for a chair lift instead. So I think there was a bit of a communication problem, but I didn't think this was a yes or no for the chairlift today. Yeah. And so that surprised me when the ballot came out that way. Okay. So I would actually propose that we
table
it. Just table the vote for maybe change the vote and change it to, do you think it's worthwhile pursuing this further? If we can vote for it that way. And I think it's way premature to decide today, yes or no on this chairlift. But if we can change the vote to, is this worth continuing to, this is what I wanted to know. If people are interested in our continuing to pursue this idea, perhaps see if people would be interested in raising more money, can we just change the vote to, yes, I would like to continue pursuing this idea. I think it's worthwhile.
So, Wayne, I just want to understand, are we voting to clarifying whether we're moving ahead with the elevator or wheelchair lift or just the chairlift?
Well,
the chair, I think the elevator is not
practical.
Practical.
Okay.
I mean, unless somebody can tell me they really think we're going to come up with another $35,000 in the near future that it's taken us 20 years to get 14. Unless somebody has a different opinion, and I'm glad to hear it, I just don't think an actual elevator is realistic at this point. But if people are interested in our continuing to pursue the chairlift, and see how, we just are looking to see about the interest at this point. And can we change the vote to, yes, I'm interested in our pursuing this idea?
Of a chairlift.
Of the chairlift.
Of the
Is
chairlift.
that all right
Yes.
with you, Mark?
Yes, my ballot says yes, I approve the installation of the chairlift, and no, but we'll revise that. Maybe use the back of the sheet if you want and put yes or no. And we'll just take a motion to consider the installation or purchase of a chairlift, and it will do some more research prior to our next congregational meeting or something of that nature. Is there any other comments or questions?
There's a couple.
Okay, yes.
I just think that you asked for anyone here to raise their hands that might be interested, and you only had about 3 hands, but I know that there are many other people that would use it that are not sitting here right now. And for an example, my mother, Geraldine Eckroat, walks with a walker, and there was something going on downstairs, and she thought, well, I'd have to leave my walker up here. I could get downstairs by holding onto the rail, but once I get down there, how am I supposed to walk around? So I think there are a lot of people here that would use it if it were available, and you know, how many more of us are going to need it in the future?
So that is an issue. I don't know how easy it is to carry the walker on the chairlift, but somebody can carry it down for them. It folds up and carries down.
That's what would have to happen,
So
yes.
that would be, and we do need to explore the weight limits on these things. There is going to be a number, and we need to explore that just for people's knowledge, I believe.
Yes, Skip.
Mark, I'm assuming that if the vote goes through for the chairlift, that the elevator fund would cover part of that expense?
Yes, that's true. And that's really part of the motion here, is that we're going to have to pursue the installation of a chairlift instead of an elevator. The idea here, and our feeling, and my feeling at least, is that the chairlift is more reachable than the elevator. So we're hoping, and at least we're asking for your input, that the chairlift meets the spirit of the elevator. If it doesn't, then we're dead in the water. We're going back to an elevator. We're thousands of dollars away from that.
So that's part of what we're asking in this. Do you think it's valid for us to continue looking at the chairlift? Are you in agreement that this is meeting the spirit of the intent for this fund, which is to get people from upstairs to downstairs and vice versa? And is everybody comfortable with that? I think it still meets the intent of the fund. I'm not a lawyer. I don't think it would be an issue at all, but that's part of what we're wanting to bring this up. These are some of the issues we wanted to bring up before we pursued this further. Did people think it would be helpful? Do we have enough people who would use it? And are people in agreement that this fund would be reasonably used for this same intent, purpose, and it's not violating the purpose of this fund?
Yeah, and that's a good point. And maybe we need a show of hands just to see how many people feel it would meet, that putting in a chairlift would meet the spirit and intent of the elevator fund. Well, let's get some more questions. Yes. Yes.
I would just like to remind everyone that in May we're going to have a brainstorming event of how to draw people to our church, how to renew our church. One of the, I think a good thing that we need is access to the basement. I mean, we can't grow our church if we don't have what we need to grow it. And we have to also remember that this is an older congregation. I mean, any day it could happen to us like it did to Jim. I mean, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And I think that we need to remember that. It's a lot of lot of us that are getting a lot
Right.
older in this church.
And the question is, would you be comfortable using a chairlift in,
So there's more questions, Carrie? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Sam.
Please let me know if anybody needs a walker at any time. Our Lions Club has a storage problem, and we discard walkers many, many times. And if there are some that are needed here or downstairs, or that you need personally, please let me know.
so I think that what you're saying here is if the person has a walker, we could stage another one at the other end so they wouldn't, yeah. Yes, Jody?
Who is still giving to that fund is not available for your information, but I will tell you, there's only one person that I know of that's still living that gives to that still after 20 years. And that person told me that he would feel that it would be okay to do a lift. They were very excited about an elevator when it started, and they really hoped for an elevator. And at one time, the person told me, I probably won't see it in my lifetime.
Right.
And I asked about this, and they said, yes, that this would probably meet the need of a lot of people who, won't help Jim or somebody in that situation. I mean, he could still at least get out, but if you can't get out of your wheelchair and you need people to lift you, you're not going to be able to use that chair. But it would help a lot of other people, and I just wanted to let you know that so that you know there is some satisfying of intent there.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't 100% replace an elevator. If you cannot get out of your wheelchair, it will not replace the elevator. But there are a lot of people who can't do stairs or that many stairs. There's got to be 25 stairs or something, which can be quite intimidating if you have mobility issues that could use a chairlift.
Yes, Jody. Go ahead.
I just had one more thought is I had told Mark an idea that I had about making a ramp out of this back door where we used to collect the clothing where the decorating items are. Make like an enclosure that would wrap around and go down to that door and get an automatic door down there. And I know that wouldn't be cheap either, but there is also a telephone pole. We walked it the other day and realized that there's probably some things in the way there, and we would have to add more pavement, and so it may not be that option. But I would wish that we would really just explore every option before we decide on a chairlift. I mean, I realize that people could use the chairlift, and I think it's a great idea, and it seems to be obtainable. But just before we would purchase that, I would say, let's explore just a few more
I have
other
no
things.
problem if people want to bring additional ideas and options to explore. Like I said, I really wanted to make this a discussion about this, and I'm thrilled to have somebody give us an estimated cost for a ramp, if that's a possibility. I suspect it would be in the $20,000 range too, but I mean, I'm pulling that out of the top of my hat.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe that would be a preferable option, and maybe somebody could donate a wheelchair for those who would like to be pushed up and down that, or we have one, yeah. But we can certainly explore others. We just wanted to bring this to this meeting for a discussion and see are people interested in exploring that. And if you want to write in other ideas, such as you have this ramp or anything else, that would be fine. But we want to make sure people are okay with using the money for that, feeling like it's part of the intent and that this is something worth exploring.
Yeah.
Just
No, I'm not sure that we do.
Okay, so we can just table this for now. I guess there is enough positivity that I'm hearing to be worth continuing to explore, but maybe we can just table this discussion for now, and we'll continue to explore options. Does
Okay.
that sound reasonable?
Okay, do I have a motion to table this chairlifting? Okay, yeah.
Okay, and
Okay.
second is
Second?
Brett.
Brett?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
All in favor?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yes. Absolutely.
I know he spent a lot of time getting to this point, and I just want to thank him for doing that. I really appreciate all the effort, and others as well, that have put into that.
Absolutely. We do thank Mark for that.
Okay.
Okay, so
Did
we
we
won't
actually
take
get
a
a
vote
vote?
on that today then.
Do we have a vote on the motion?
Oh, sorry, we got a motion and we didn't have a vote. Everybody in favor?
Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay,
Okay.
now we're there.
All right, let's go on then. Sorry about that. Here's your papers, Mark. I think these are all yours.
Just take all my stuff out of your
Yeah.
way.
Oh, this is all yours. Yes. Where'd mine go? On the floor, I think.
Oh. All right.
Okay, moving on. Thank you guys for all that thoughtful discussion. Ministry team reports, they are included in your handouts on pages 3 and 4. Any members of the ministry teams, do you have any additions to those papers? Sandy?
I neglected to put in our goals that we will be doing the summer lunch program as we normally do, and I don't want anyone to think that we're slighting that this year. We are going to be doing that in May and June. Thank you.
Any other additions? Any questions?
Christian Ed, you're welcome to add something if you would like. I would just like to... What's that? Thank you, but I will just note to everyone, there is going to be a change in the Christian Ed leadership. We are aware of that. It will be after Vacation Bible School, and we'll be talking more about that when the time comes. Thank you.
Okay, if that's nothing else on that, we'll move on to the 2023 year-end financial reports. They are in a separate packet in the back. Any questions about those? If there are no questions or concerns about those, I guess, do I need to vote to accept all these? I'm sorry. I guess we'll just go on. Auditor's report is on page 4. No, it's number 4. It's also included in the handout. As is the 2023 year-to-date financial report as of February 29th. And that is on the back page, the back couple of pages. Does somebody move to accept all these reports? Carrie does, second. Audrey in the back. All right. All those who move to accept all these, or agree to accept all these reports, say aye. Aye. Okay. I think that's everything. Anybody have anything else for the good of the congregation? Thank you, everybody who has contributed. Brandon, do you want to say a prayer for us to close?
Gracious God, thank you for the opportunity to gather as your people. Send us forward. Help us explore the options to help our congregation continue to be accessible as much as possible and a beacon of light to all. May we, as your people, remember we're not perfect, but by your grace, we can be made clean continually. Thank you for Wynn, for Mark, for all who contribute to the leadership of our church. In Jesus' name we give thanks. Amen.